Draft Physics video presentation. Yeah, just a little extra throwaway type video just because of one psychotic commenter that I might as well respond to and see if he'll just go away. So apparently this started, okay, with this previous comment. Okay, now it's not very comprehensible, frankly. You can't figure out what his point is. And so I might have been wrong to respond with the fact that pendulums they move at the same speed. No matter how high I lift the pendulum, it always has the same time. So if it's just moving a little tiny bit, it doesn't move very much. It moves very slowly. And so it takes just as much time to swing this much as it takes to swing this much. So anyway, but that's pendulums and that's springs. Okay, so both springs and pendulums work that way. The period is always the same of any oscillation. Now, it's not the same as throwing two things into the air, okay, or dropping two things from different heights, because yes, logically, when you drop something, it moves at the same velocity, okay, I mean at the same acceleration rate, so it's the same velocity for the same distance. And obviously, if you're falling a longer distance, then you're going to gain a lot more velocity and you're going to gain it rapidly. So you go 4 times the distance, you get twice the velocity. All right. So I'll read this comment again. So the argument is about kinetic energy. So let's just understand what you need to provide me as evidence. I'm saying there's no evidence for kinetic energy. That is, there's no circumstance where you take two objects that have the same momentum. So ideally, you just invert things. So if you have something that has a mass of 10 and a velocity of 5, and you compare that to something with a mass of 5 and a velocity of 10, just invert the mass to velocity ratios. Then you have the same momentum, but you have very different kinetic energies in the sense that it's doubled. Now you can have more extreme examples like a bullet and the stock of the gun, which again I would argue collect the energy and show me that the bullet has 2,000 joules and the gun only has 4. Show me it collected. Show me how that little explosion created 2,000 joules of energy one way and only 4 joules of energy the other way. I'd say you can't show me because it's impossible. Okay, clearly impossible. And the same is true for collecting it off these other objects. But I'm just saying the experiment you need to show me is the example of something comparable to the inverse relationship. So show me a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour producing less energy than a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour. Or, you know what I mean, if I didn't say that backwards. 10, 5, 5, 10. Show me those things producing different amounts of energy when you collect the energy. Show me that. And that's what you can't show me. Because the only experiments that validated this nonsense were clay experiments. And clay has a huge bias for velocity. So again, that's what you have to argue. This argument is not an argument. Okay, so here's what he said. If a ball goes up twice as fast as ball 1, so it means that you're just throwing it with twice the velocity. So they weigh the same, apparently. You throw one with twice the velocity. By the time ball 1 stops, ball 2 will have gone up twice. I don't know that for sure. Okay, I mean, obviously at the higher velocity, it's going to go more than twice in the same amount of time. So by the time ball 1 stops, ball 2 is going to go a lot more than just twice because it's going at twice the velocity. Right? Yeah. Well, it has to be twice. Okay, anyway. As high because it's twice as fast during the same duration. But it's losing less velocity per unit of time because it has more velocity. The only thing gravity can do is slow it down at the same rate it's slowing down the other one. So it's only taking away a small portion of its velocity. That's why it goes 4 times as high. It's because it's not cutting its velocity down. So it's not half the velocity at half the height. All right, because ball 2 is twice as fast as ball 1, it takes twice as long to slow down. It takes twice as long to stop. Right, but it goes 4 times further. Which means that by the time ball 1 stops, ball 2 will still have to go up the same duration that ball 1 went up. So that's where you're wrong. Because the rate at which gravity is slowing down the faster ball isn't as fast, because it's only taking 9.8 meters per second. It's only decelerating at 9.8 meters per second. Decelerating something going 30 miles an hour versus decelerating something that's going 15 miles an hour at a 9.8 rate. So you can understand that, yes, the slower object has its velocity degraded much quicker. It runs out of velocity much quicker. And the faster object, the velocity is a lot more durable because it's losing less, in a sense, of its total percentage of velocity. All right. That's a reasonable way to say it. All right, well, anyway. It takes twice as long to slow down, which means that by the time it stops, ball 2 will have to go up the same duration that ball 1 went up, but at twice the average speed. So that's wrong, 4 times higher. So again, what does this have to do with the kinetic energy argument and providing evidence that it's extra joules of energy? That's the part you're obligated to show. So obviously there's more joules if you're shooting it twice as high, so it's twice as much energy, but you haven't demonstrated that there's 4 times as much energy in any way. So I don't understand. By momentum standards, it's only twice the velocity to get it 4 times higher. So I only needed to double the momentum. To double the momentum, I only need to double the number of watts or joules or energy I have to impose on it. So where's the 4 times crap come in? Where's the square come in? Where is momentum found lacking and kinetic energy necessary? Where's the explanation? Where does this in any way create any kind of insight into the core argument? It doesn't. All right, so anyway, but me bringing up pendulums was probably not a good idea. Okay, so I'll concede that much. But then this guy counter-argued that somehow pendulums don't have the same period, when of course they do, and it's only a tiny fractional amount of difference, of inconsistency as you go further up. And especially gets, when you go all the way up to perpendicular or higher, obviously, it really screws it up. But the period is the same. So it really doesn't make any difference, blah, blah, blah. So then he posted a whole bunch of other crap comments in this same kind of form. I mean, these are a little better in that he replied to his own comments. But I mean, I've already pointed out in videos before, I find this obnoxious. If you can't form your comment into a solid piece of text, then go somewhere else, because I have no interest in this spammy approach of yours. And clearly these have all been thumbed up artificially. I mean, no one's fooled by this. I don't think there's 7 people that even read the initial comment you posted, let alone 7 people who would have thumbed it up. It's preposterous and silly. So you're proving yourself, not only are you using sock accounts with stupid names, you're obnoxiously rude, and then you thumb things up, your own comments. You're a cheater and a bullshitter. I mean, why should anybody tolerate, on top of being just obnoxious and rude? Why do you think this works somewhere? Where have you used this technique and it's worked? Show me the channel that monitors comments at all. Like, maybe a channel that has 1 million comments on it, nobody gives a shit, and so they don't even clean it up. But, show me a channel where you've pulled this shit and gotten away with it. So it's just such bullshit. But anyway, let's read some of this crap. These are the comments that were blocked within minutes of posting. Yeah, there was, 13, 14, 15 comments? in individual little stupid jerky comments. Yeah, I didn't even read them. Sorry, but you you post one comment. If you have to, maybe two, because you left something out. But there's no excuse for this. Whatever this is, there's no excuse for any asshole having to do this. This is retarded. Anyway. If you are a DraftScience fan, ask yourself, is your physics god king? So who talks that kind of way? That sounds like bro. Deleting them so quickly. Obviously, because they're irrational mush. Yeah, so maybe this is a bro thing. I mean, this looks like bro science videos. So he has a time code. Isn't that amazing? It was the commenter whose thread we were both responding to when you decided to block my channel. I blocked it for reasons I articulate and explained to you. You're first rude, okay? Insanely, stupidly rude. And you can't seem to format your argument in some sort of form that's comprehensible. You're a waste of time. I mean, maybe that's your whole purpose, is to waste my time. Exactly what I'm doing. So in that way, I'm falling into your trap. Okay. But anyway, I have a hard time believing you don't know what I'm talking about. Yes, right. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You're not providing a link to evidence. I'm really not interested in your stupid, silly, fucking your arguments unless you can put evidence behind them. So unless you can show me somebody collecting this kinetic energy bullshit, frankly, you have a completely unevidenced theory. I don't believe in your God. Show me some evidence of your God's existence. And you can't do that. And so this is all just pathetic. Anyway, and you said, I was that commenter and I'm not. Well, I don't know who the fuck you are, but you're just as insane. All right. So another time code. It was a known fact. So again, I've said this to people before, but posting time codes without a quote or some reference to what the material is, I think is just a waste of everybody's time. So I don't think anybody's ever going to click that. I don't think anyone's ever going to care about what you're saying enough to waste their time clicking the time code to find out what you're obsessing about. I mean, it's just silly. Anyway, it would be known by more people than you. So I don't even know what. So he's, again, arguing something that really can't be argued. I mean, I could play the Professor Lewin video. I might have that actually right here. So let's see if it's right here. All right, this might be the spring one. But in the other one, it's the same rule for pendulums.
Centimeters. So I get 10T.
Yeah, this is the spring.
And I get a...
Dear U.S. homeowners, I've been seeing a lot of ads to refinance lately.
I mean, it's really disgusting
error, reaction error,
that he has ads on these videos.
That's about the reaction error that we all have, roughly. Then I will do it at 40 centimeters. We get a 10T. And we get, again, plus or minus 1.0.
I mean, MIT paid to produce them.
How much they differ. They should be the same if this is an ideal spring, within the uncertainty of my measurements. You see the timing there?
All right, so we won't bother. We won't waste time with all this blah, 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 blah,
I have here
blah.
another car, which weighs roughly this.
Okay.
I will show you something else, which is quite interesting, and that is how the behavior of the period is on the
Okay, so we got the two numbers, 15, 16, 15, 13. So from 40 centimeters, exactly the same period as from 20 centimeters. And so there's no argument here. Like I said, any change that might take place, at higher and higher compressions, there might be a subtle difference, but it doesn't account for twice as much energy or any of that horse shit. It's within hundreds of percents, tiny percentages. So there's no argument. Show your evidence, or just shut the fuck up. Anyway, regardless, also the implications that it not being true are insane. And you'd be able to test and prove it regardless. So who knows what he's talking about, right? Also, the implications of not being true is insane, just flat out insane. It would mean all objects, regardless of their upward velocity, would hit the ground at the same time. Insane. But the fact is that when they are attached to something, yeah, then that happens because of friction, I guess. The argument would be is that the slow velocity object going sideways has more friction, more tension than at the higher velocity. But regardless, it still doesn't provide any evidence of kinetic energy. You still aren't getting it. Your obligation is to explain why there's more kinetic energy and how you can actually collect it, because it doesn't mean anything if you can't actually collect it. All right, once again, pendulums do... So here he says it again, which is just stupid. He's arguing the pendulum argument, even though I would concede now, in hindsight, there's no point in arguing it because that's not the point you were trying to make. But yet he's still arguing it as if that point isn't true, when it is absolutely 100% true. I can show him with the big giant pendulum. He goes to, 10 centimeters, and he goes to, 40 centimeters, and lets the pendulum swing. I guess it's meters, so it goes to 1 meter and then 2 meters, and they swing at exactly the same period. Pendulums do not accelerate at the same way as falling objects do. Well, that's fine. We agree on that now. Okay. It's like a marble rolling down a slope that is curved. Well, that's like a pendulum, frankly. The acceleration rate of change of speed decreases as the slope decreases. When the marble reaches the bottom, the acceleration due to gravity is 0. So, again, this zero gravity thing is always pretty stupid. Whereas at the topmost point of the slide, the acceleration is its maximum. No, there's no acceleration at its maximum. It's accelerating exactly the same amount all the time. So again, that's just wrong of you to say that way. Here you are being such a nudge about making everybody say everything perfectly, and you just said something that's just stupid. The acceleration is at its maximum. There's no maximum acceleration. The acceleration is 9.8 meters through the whole process. The velocity is the thing increasing because you're collecting velocity. With each second, you're collecting more and more velocity. You're accumulating velocity. The acceleration is just 9.8. Idiot. Asshole. Fucktard. Anyway. When it is at the topmost point of the slide, the acceleration is at its maximum. So that's just a stupid thing for you to say. There's no more acceleration here than there is here. Okay, I mean, at the inverse square law and all that kind of crap, gravity is the 9.8 meters here, and it's, 9.8 meters here. I mean, 9.8.00007 here. And it's 0.00000 here. I mean, there's the same exact acceleration here as there is here, idiot. All right. All points in between have an acceleration less than the maximum Putin and greater than its min point. So again, it's just wrong. The acceleration is a constant 9.8 meters, you stupid fuck. But an object in free fall has a constant acceleration due to gravity. So everything has a constant acceleration. Everything due to gravity. This is so obvious a child would know. Well, if it's so obvious, why did you say it wrong right above that sentence? You sat there and said acceleration is changing. Obviously, the objects aren't changing their acceleration. The acceleration rate is constant. The velocity is changing. So right above this sentence, you said something completely stupid. I mean, you're such an idiot. Why am I bothering? Okay, another time code. Says you. So he really thinks somebody's going to bother clicking all these time codes and replaying the video and then saying, oh, he says you to that. Ooh, boy, you sure got him on that one, didn't he? Amazing. You really think that's what people are going to do? You really think so? Boy, you are so clueless. Okay, A is always true except when it's not, except when B is true instead of A. Brilliant. I never said anything like that. So I don't use that kind of bullshit A and B comparisons ever. All right, if you and I both say something's obvious, you don't get extra points for saying it with some stank. Attitudes are not how science is settled ever. Yeah, evidence is, and you don't produce any. Evidence is. I've produced the evidence. I just showed you Professor Lewin testing the period of a spring and finding that the period is the same. I showed the carts, where you put the heavier cart on one side and they got the same momentum. And there's absolutely no reason to think that somehow miraculously the spring gave this side twice as many joules of energy as it gave that side. That Newton's third law doesn't work. Oh, God, you're pathetic. All right, so another time code. My argument is literally what I wrote down, whatever that is. It's an argument. No, it isn't. It's not comprehensible as an argument. It's not comprehensible as oh, well, that changes everything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't point out anything. It doesn't connect anything. It in no way shows how the object that went 4 times higher in gravity has 4 times the energy. It doesn't show any of that. Okay, you think it's a bad argument. Yeah, that's right. The argument does not exist. Well, I didn't say it didn't exist. I responded to it, didn't I, asshole? I gave you that courtesy. Even though you were fucking rude, I still answered your fucking question. Okay, why do you not make the distinction, whatever that means? Answer, because then you have to actually deal with the actual argument instead of dismiss it. I honestly stated I don't exactly know what this argument is, and I just pointed out how the period of pendulums are the same. Now, again, I will argue that I'm probably not answering your point by bringing up pendulums. But let's go back to your point and try to figure out what it means. How does it prove the existence of kinetic energy? Yeah, you're still not proving it. Are you going to do clay experiments? I mean, how are you collecting the energy? You're supposed to come up with 4 times the energy. The object moving twice as fast now has 4 times the energy. Show me. It only took twice as much energy to throw it into the gravity. How can it land with 4 times the energy? Can you explain that? Can you explain how it only takes twice as much to throw it up into gravity, and yet when it comes down, I'm supposed to believe it has 4 times as much energy? Twice as much up, 4 times down. You say that's not a paradox, and then that makes sense to you. I'm telling you honestly, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all. And you have to show me you collecting this extra energy and getting it in this free manner. It only takes you twice as much energy to shoot it up, and yet you get 4 times back. That's free energy, jackass. That would be sort of a miracle. And have you provided extraordinary evidence of your miracles? No, you haven't provided any evidence. You haven't even provided a guy with an arm like sewn onto it, like a fake arm sewn onto where his arm used to be. You're not showing me anything. Like a drawing of an x-ray of his tumor. You're showing me nothing, okay, to demonstrate the existence of your miracle energy. All right. Actual argument, instead of dismiss it with a wave of the hand and some words. Well, I gave you words, and you're saying that's not good enough. Now, again, I will argue, I will concede, because I didn't understand your point, because you didn't write it very well, sorry, okay? But I still don't understand your point. I'll concede that bringing up pendulums wasn't a proper response. But what I said about pendulums was, in fact, true, shit for brain. Jesus. All right. My evidence is that objects that fall 4 times as far end up going 2 times the speed. Now, everybody already knows that, okay? So that argument doesn't mean anything because everybody agrees to that. 4 times higher, double the momentum. Double the speed. You're not changing the mass, so you're just doubling the momentum. Okay, so Who doesn't agree with that? And that's just because gravity is a constant force. It's only adding 9.8 to the velocity. 9.8, 9.8, 9.8. It's not adding anything other than what it collects through the time it can collect velocity. Distance equals extra time. Okay, anyway. And objects traveling twice as fast upward take 2 times as long to stop. No. Twice as fast takes 2, yes. Okay, and travel 4 times farther. Right, so that's what we agree on. That's the Clay experiment, okay? So that's something that's already been talked about 3 months ago here, okay? That's the classic Clay experiment. Take 2 of the same object. To double the velocity, you have to go 4 times higher into the gravity. So you put one object 4 times higher than the other object, then you drop them into clay, and in clay, the object that fell 4 times further goes 4 times deeper in the clay. But the whole point is clay sucks at measuring velocities. Measuring energies. It has a bias for velocity. And if I did the experiment with cornstarch, then I would conclude that the slow object had 4 times as much energy, and the fast object had 4 times less. So, stick your poo in your pipe and smoke it. Anyway, those are things verified by experiment. So again, those aren't being argued. So all of this was for nothing. Oh, okay. You are the one claiming this does not happen. So I never said that doesn't happen. What I argued is that it depends on interpretation. So it's just like where you wrote that there's a maximum acceleration somewhere, when no, the acceleration is always the same rate of acceleration. It doesn't matter whether you're here or you're here, the accelerating rate is the same. Anything I've committed as an error, okay, is just a verbiage error. Okay, the concepts have never been in dispute. Okay, so the fact that we can't show that in a YouTube comment section is your problem. So the fact that we can't show that in a YouTube comment section is your problem. What's my problem? You're saying okay, so he's claiming I'm claiming it doesn't happen. That's just a lie. I never made any video previous to your comment claiming that's a lie, except for the one I did to Quora, where I was way off base. In terms of not realizing the 4 times higher thing. But regardless, it just doesn't make any difference. I haven't made any, it's not part of the videos I have on my website. The one on the kinetic energy doesn't say it. So again, why are you arguing things that aren't part of the argument? I'm arguing your idea that there's such a thing as mv squared as a rational description of energy. All right. Okay, and your problem alone. So whatever that even means. So again, it's completely meaningless information. The fact that you have to go higher in gravity is just a consequence of the fact, okay, that gravity is a constant force. And to double your velocity, you have to be in the constant force longer. It's that duh. So again, he's time coding and then commenting as if, like I said, he thinks somebody's going to click 13 time codes. I don't think anybody's done that. I don't think you even would do it. It's just an insanely insipid thing for you to think this is how you argue on the internet. Yeah, it's insipid. All right, then use the duh to predict how far the ball going 2 times the velocity will go instead of just saying duh. Well, I don't even know what that means, but who cares? Because the speed of decreasing literally as a function of time, so it travels 2 times faster, it takes 2 times as long to stop. That is because ... I don't even know what that could mean. The other a-hole is saying something that is entirely consistent with what I wrote. So he's calling somebody who's consistent with what he wrote an a-hole. Whatever. There is no contradiction. except then he talks shit to him in the comments section. What sense can you make out of this? How exactly does one throw an argument? I didn't say that. What are you smoking? So that's more vernacular that serves no purpose. You're already incomprehensible. I mean, adding your whatever that's being witty. I mean, it's like 1932 internet. LOL. Yeah. I'd say I want some of what you're smoking. So now you're even going, 1927. You're going for all the vintage internet. But then I also want to go through life with all my mental faculties. Well, you're already out of luck, or you weren't born with too many. Intact going forward, so I think I'll pass. So that was just a waste of time, wasn't it? Just an absolute waste of time. I mean, you don't want to talk the physics. You just want to do whatever that mush was. And then you say, oh, you're not being fair to me. Oh, fuck you. So, yes, you're blocked. Go away. You're silly. Crazy is what you are. So he has a couple, I think, on here, too. Yeah, so he just says this shit. I said one of the things. Well, that sort of clears it up. Eventually, those things are suspended by atomic clocks, so they're full of shit, shithead. So again, this guy's explaining how... I don't even know what he's explaining exactly, beyond the fact that they're saying, well, if you want a really precise clock, you don't use a pendulum, right? But we all can say that, right? Yeah, pendulums have the same period, but pendulums are going through the atmosphere. There's lots of things, variables, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, ideally you don't use a pendulum. You use a crystal and all that kind of stuff. But who cares? The argument is whether or not the period of a swinging pendulum stays the same. No matter how high I go up, I end up with the same rate of swing time. That was the point. And all of this crap over a point that wasn't even relevant to the initial comment, which is still the same bullshit that somehow it means something. Because to get twice the velocity, you have to go 4 times higher in gravity. Somehow they think this proves there's kinetic energy when it doesn't prove any of that. The object ends up with twice the momentum, not 4 times the momentum. So there's no evidence of any extra energy. The same momentum. It takes twice as much momentum to make it go 4 times as higher. Just a fact. It doesn't take 4 times the energy. It only takes twice the energy. So where's the room for the kinetic energy formula in here? There's no room for it. All right, so I probably should just delete this too, because it's just a source of confusion now. Where's the delete button? What the fuck? It's way over here now. Yeah, we'll just remove it. yeah, just get rid of it. All right. Some asshole, this Miles Mathis thing. What does this mean? The project is working. I don't even, why do you, there ought to be laws against all these people even existing. I mean, what are you people? I mean, how hard are you trying not to be in any way, conform to any kind of logic or reasoning? Anyway. So yeah, now we're back to this last comment, which is so stupid. Kinetic energy and momentum are 2 different things. It's like saying wet and wateriness are 2 different things. No, they're not. Or, something like that. I mean, highness and elevation are 2 different things. No, they're not. Anyway. All right, so enough of a video. This is kind of a big waste of time, but I just wanted, for the sake of argument, just to get it over with. So I'm just saying, if you're going to make an argument, there's no point in making one of these arguments that contains no evidence. What's lacking here is evidence from your side. I have shown evidence of momentum being conserved. and I have shown momentum being collected. What you need to do is show kinetic energy being collected. Show two things with the same momentum and show you extracting more kinetic energy from one of them. Show one of them lighting more LEDs. Two things with the same momentum but different kinetic energies, and just show that, hey, even though they have the same momentum, somehow it knocks down more pins. Or, it does something in the real universe. Okay, show the 8-pound bowling ball going twice as fast, knocking down twice as many pins than the 16-pound ball going half as fast. Let's forget about throwing it. Let's just have a machine throw it. Let's just have one double the velocity. So the 8-pound ball is going twice as fast than the 16-pound ball. And you show me twice as many pins getting knocked down. That kind of thing. But until then, this is all just such bullshit. You have a theory with no physical evidence. And if you bring up the clay experiments, I'm just going to keep saying cornstarch, cornstarch, cornstarch. Because cornstarch will produce exactly the opposite results. So then just keep ignoring that fact. Keep ignoring the physical realities. All right. So I've done all I can do. But again, the first reason to block somebody is the fake thumbing up bullshit. I mean, that's just so lame. And just so obvious. I mean, you should stop at like 2. That might have some chance where you get away with it. But 7? Oh, please. So you're just showing you're a liar and a conniver. You have no credibility as being anything called an honest person trying to make an honest science argument. Pathetic. Yeah. Alright, so that's enough. I've done my job here. So, this has been a DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Sorry we don't have any beef, but the other side won't produce any, so I can't. I would love to, be able to argue their argument, but they don't have an argument. All of their arguments is, you're too stupid to understand. I can't really argue with that. Because there's no evidence of it. They haven't shown it in any way how I'm stupid or any of this stuff. So, there's nothing to argue. Jeez. But it's all part of the history, right? So we're writing the history right here. And you're all pretty much showing humans are really, really doopy and dumb. And they really are innately gullible and sheeple. Because they don't need evidence to believe. They'll believe it just because the people they like say so. And they like people for stupid reasons. Because they're fat and ugly like they are or something. Some stupid reason. Alright, well anyway, I already did the closing, but I'll do it again. This has been a Draft Physics video presentation. Tune in next time for more of the same, probably. Unfortunately. So, till the next time and such.